Similar to Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2 went an incredibly long time before doing a first boss fight. I suppose technically the first Licker could have been considered a boss fight for being, you know, in the introduction, a slightly more unique take, but no, not really. The G-Larvae, or whatever the hell you want to call this boss fight, is actually a pretty interesting enemy lore-wise, if not combat-wise, because it was the thing that was growing inside of the only prisoner left in the Raccoon City Police Department. As the disaster happened around them and everyone in the police station died, all the cops really couldn't survive the zombie apocalypse, you know, because they boarded themselves into a building, so obviously that didn't exactly work out too well for them. The G-Larva was impregnated into the prisoner, who was a reporter, by the zombie that he had survived the attack with, or... No, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened. And just like the alien in Alien, it burst out of his body, or his chest, depending on where the character model looked at the particular time that he died. Then it just sort of slithered off until it got to this point when you collected all of the chest pins to unlock the door at the end of the room, and then it rapidly mutates and evolves into the creature that is the G-Larva, which is kinda, based on what it looks like and what it can do, is basically a giant weak spot. The entire creature is a giant weak spot because it did that thing where it grew an unnecessary eyeball on its back that's really easy to hit because, you know, in the PSX era, they didn't really design a lot of the pinpoint accuracy with the body parts that we see today, so you can kind of paraphrase your way to shooting the eyeball even though you're standing right in front of G-Larva, so that's at least helping you out a bit there. What's not as helpful is that one of G-Larva's attacks is that it vomits up a bunch of centipede, millipede looking things that attack you, and basically just eat up ammo if you even decide to try and start killing them, or waste your time if you try to pull out the knife to deal with them. Which honestly isn't recommended because once you defeat the G-Larva, and if you have the correct weaponry, it's actually pretty easy to beat this wanton abomination. Then you can just run past the entire situation, get the plugs where they need to, and get out of the room and get on with your life. It's a really tiny corridor, so running away from the G-Larva isn't exactly an option. I mean, you're probably not going to be revisiting the particular area in the police station, so if you had that option, it would have been a good one to take. Because Resident Evil 2 seems to be all about that jazz, which is why we're not going to be seeing a lot of Mr. X in this series. We're only going to be doing the required boss fights from him. But as a boss fight, the G-Larva, really forgettable. Unfortunately, it doesn't really fit into the lore. I mean, a couple of people have thought that the G-Larva eventually becomes William Birkin or the giant monster, or I don't know, Nemesis or whatever. No, the G-Larva is its whole thing. It dies right here. I don't think it reincarnates later and becomes a different monster. So, yeah, pretty forgettable, except for those couple people. It's honestly, even with the whole mutation animation, which frankly for the PSX was pretty damn good. I did play the original ROM of this game because this is being recorded before the release of the remake. It just, when it actually gets up and going, it looks incredibly generic. Like, it completely stole the giant eyeball thing that William Birkin did. and it just doesn't look as cool because it's either on its back, because it's like half worm or something, so even the body structure itself is not interesting to look at. All of the vomiting it does is pretty much off screen, so the unique animation it could have had to kind of liven up its character, again, doesn't really work out. I mean, for the first boss of the game, it really is kind of substandard. Like, up until this point, we've been seeing amazing things coming out of Resident Evil 2, and then you get to the first boss, and yeah, it has the camera angles and it has the animations at the start, but then it just becomes stereotypical boss fight for a survival horror game. We're gonna kill you in a minute and move on with your life, and that's pretty much all you did. You blocked the path for 2 minutes, and you dealt kinda minuscule damage for a normal difficulty run of this game with your minion thing, which I suppose if they were able to do high damage it would be even more unfair. So at least you got that going for you, G-Larvae. You got a little bit of fairness points to you, and I can give you a tiny, minuscule amount of respect for that.